Another day of madness in Edmonton Oilers land, my friends. This is Dolany TV. Good afternoon. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers Rumor Roundup. What do you want to call it? I don't even know what we're getting at this point. It is just absolutely pure chaos when it comes down to everything for our Edmonton Oilers. And you know what? We find ourselves again talking Erik Karlsson, the continually evolving situation for the Oilers. Before we get to that though, my friends, I want you to heads up right now, housekeeping notes. If you're new to the channel, I want you to consider hitting that subscribe button here on Dolany TV at some point during the video or when you finish it, whenever it feels convenient to you and you say, hey, I'd like to do that. Please consider doing as such. But with that, we get to Erik Karlsson today, and Erik Karlsson, my friends, continues to be the hottest topic I have seen in Edmonton in years, okay? I mean, Jesse Puljujärvi's been a hot topic for as long as I've been doing this whole YouTube thing, but Erik Karlsson has absolutely taken things by storm here in the Oilers news cycles. And just for a show of that would be the Dolany TV views on the last 3 straight videos, reaching up over 5,500 views each. I think it goes 5,500, 8,000, and then 6,000 in back-to-back-to-back videos. That has never been done before on the channel in any history of my channel. So that is absolutely fantastic. And thank you so much for continuing to tune in day out to get the latest here on Erik Karlsson. And with that, we'll start with what I deem to be number 1 on the list. And of course, you might have heard Patrick and I both mentioned this Twitter account yesterday in both of our videos. At Oiler Alert on Twitter has been absolutely just all over everywhere, covering anything and everything to do with the Edmonton Oilers over the past several months. And it looks like this account's really starting to gain some big traction here because, well, obviously when you're the first one getting the news out from the podcasts and everything to the people on Twitter who want to know what the Oilers are doing, you're going to have a good time. And that's exactly getting the shoutouts on the YouTube channels too. I'm sure it doesn't help at all. Anyway, friends, talking Karlsson again, right? The Oilers, according to Frank Saravelli, seem to think that the Sharks' initially reported asking price of 3 first-round picks has no basis in reality, and that said, whether the deal gets done may depend more on if San Jose can readjust their expectations on the return, right? It's one of those things, right? Read into it. The Sharks need to weigh the retention versus expectation of return. And realistically, if the Oilers are the only one beating down the door talking to you, trading for Erik Karlsson, you almost have to go with what Ken Holland's willing to give up, not what you're willing to demand. Because it's made mention too today, just based on kind of the situation for the San Jose Sharks, and this was, I think, on Oilers Alert as well. Just think of what the value of trading Karlsson now is versus the value of trading Karlsson at the end of the season in the off season. Is if Karlsson is to get hurt for the San Jose Sharks at any point throughout this rest of the year and you don't trade him, he's now got another piece of injury history against him, which will likely make him even harder to trade than he is now. Secondary to that, for the Sharks, the motivation is you're in the rebuild. You probably want a better draft pick. Erik Karlsson with 70 points and being a Norris favorite is probably doing a disservice to trying to generate that draft pick as high as possible. So you can get maximum return, even if it isn't 3 first-round picks. You can maximize your return now and get assets for this year's draft or assets that you could flip for this year's 2023 Connor Bedard draft, by the way. So that's where we're sitting right now for everything when it comes to kind of what the price is looking like, kind of how things are playing out right now for the Oilers and Sharks. And then all of a sudden, Jason Gregor, just in a list of lunacy on Twitter, just a couple of people just being mouthpieces to be mouthpieces, in my opinion. Just simply, Jason Gregor comes in here and says, I think you're all mistaken or just don't have a clue, because Edmonton has made an offer for Erik Karlsson to San Jose. That's what that text reads. I'm not exaggerating the truth, my friends. The text literally reads from Jason Gregor that the Oilers made an offer yesterday to San Jose. San Jose will either counter or decline. GMs make offers on trades quite often, but many aren't accepted. That's where we sit, right? Is yes, the Oilers have made an offer, doesn't mean that their trade is imminent, doesn't mean that it's happening tomorrow, but it continues to mean that the dialogue continues to be there between the Sharks and the Oilers when it comes to Erik Karlsson. So that's the big part here, is whether you like this or not, this is happening. To what extent, whether a trade actually happens or it is the biggest story in Oilers land that never pans out to be anything this year, that is your guess is as good as mine. But I'm sorry, even the hardest of hardcore fans who hate trade rumors on YouTube, Twitter, TV, whatever, if you aren't intrigued by what's happening here with Erik Karlsson, I just don't think you really care enough about the Oilers winning a Stanley Cup to even be in the conversation at this point, to be honest with you. And I think that sounds harsh, but I'm sorry, right? It's just one of those things. The Oilers finally are about to swing the biggest they ever have, right? I said at the start of the year, it's cup or bust for the Oilers this year, and this is a move that does that kind of thing, right? Is you want offensive firepower while also having NHL level defending. That is Erik Karlsson in a nutshell, and that's what we are just continuing to go down the road of exploring and trying to get before the trade deadline. Now I need to enlarge this for you because this is where it gets really big, is obviously somebody comes in and says, whoa man, you just can't do that to us. And he said, Jason Gregor replies, just saying conversations are ongoing, right? That's the dialogue I'm talking about. It doesn't mean anything is imminent or a deal will happen, as I said a moment ago, but not all trade discussions turn into actual trades. Most don't, from what I've been told, but there is interest. So that's the thing, right? Is, again, go back a few videos from me ago, is the reason why I love that the Oilers are so persistent on figuring out the exact cost for Erik Karlsson, figuring out how they're going to make it work, is because it frees up the rest of the market. If you know the top tier, best of the best in the market costs X, and the Columbus Blue Jackets are asking a first, third, and fourth for Gavrikov, what do you tell them if you're Ken Holland? Get out of here. I don't got time for your nonsense, right? That is no... we're talking about 3 first-round picks not being on the table anymore for Erik Karlsson and never were. Well, that's in sense, when you're talking about basis of reality, where do the Columbus Blue Jackets figure out that Gavrikov is somehow worth a first, a third, and a fourth, right? There's no talk of retaining some salary. There's no talk of that. It's literally, here's Gavrikov, I want a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and a fourth-round pick. But it seems, though, as well, according to Saravelli, which you can find all on Oiler Alert, pretty much the entire breakdown of his interview on Oilers Nation every day, is just simply making it out to be one of those things where there's a lot to talk about today, but everything at this point seems to tie to the Oilers, even if it is Gavrikov being heavily pursued, I guess would be the word, by the Boston Bruins at this point. So friends, that's where we sit. Another big day of Erik Karlsson news, and somehow, some way, I forgot to mention we got a hockey game tonight against the Detroit Red Wings at 7:30 p.m. I'm going to see what I can do about dinner. I'm going to see what I can do about setting up a stream, but we'll figure that out. And of course, if this video is absolutely crushing it, I'll leave the stream alone because I don't want to kill this thing off before it really actually gets going, if you know what I mean. So friends, I'm Tyson, this is Stolany TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Again, a reminder, if you're new to the channel, I'd love to have you consider hit that subscribe button. And secondary too, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like on the video. And if you're subscribed and don't get notifications but would like the videos as late as you possibly could, get that bell clicked. Friends, I'm up on out of here.